16 on one block.
It's showtime, and we're all the way live at the crossroads where life and sports intersect. Today, I'm sitting down. I ain't standing. I'm sitting down at the corners of life and sports, bringing to you a special look inside the organization of Legends to Legacy Inc. Too many times, and I shared it with my team, we've talked about this over and over. Parents sign themselves up for sporting events in the youth travel world and have no idea the leadership that's behind the company. Today, we're going to take a special look inside. We're going to take a look under the cover. We're going to lift up the curtain, whatever you want to say. We're going to get up under the hood of Legends to Legacy. And you're going to find out tonight um, who we are in the marketplace, that we are an actual 501c3 organization. I hear that thrown around a lot. No shade, but we're going to keep it real. We have a mission, we have a purpose, and we're here to serve others before serving ourselves. Once again, no shade. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us. This is a pre-recording of an ongoing series into the youth sports marketing travel industry. We're here tonight to not only talk about the organization, but once again to highlight um, the the game of the Americans, All American Bowl Week, December 26th, December 26th to the 31st, 2025, backdrop, Louisiana Monroe at the University of Louisiana Monroe, and also at the beautiful newly built West Monroe Sports Complex, where we're going to have our training seminars, opening ceremonies, graduations for our eighth graders, our team versus team grind, and our next up elite eighth grade showcase event, which is going to become our alumni game because those individuals, that's going to be their last youth, junior high school event they'll be participating in before they matriculate over to the high school ranks. So we're going to have a who's who of eighth graders playing in that event. But once again, it's not about the competition on the field. It's about everything that surrounds the event and our specialty in the marketplace of bringing together um, people that have expertise in NIL, people that have expertise in mental health, people have expertise in financial and wealth management planning, people that have expertise in NCAA recruiting, NCAA clearinghouse, all these subject matters that you hear about over and over that people talk about on social media, even on your giant sports platforms. People always talking about these subjects, but no one really dives in deep. So, folks, the value is here with Legends to Legacy. And before I introduce the rest of my team, I'm going to get into the genesis of why I started this program. And I just happen to be your host TJ, if you didn't know, and you're listening to the Crossroads once again, where life and sports intersect. But the genesis of Legend to Legacy Foundation Inc. simply came because in my time in the youth All American marketing world, I saw that there was something missing. I saw people going through these events, and I've been around a lot of great families, a lot of special student athletes that have matriculated on to Division One, Division Two, One AA, Division Three, NIAI, junior college opportunities. But in that, your top athletes are always being served. So what's called the top athletes and families? What's called them your 80%. But that bottom percent of folks have really no clue about recruiting and other matters surrounding football. Football is that one link chain that connects to life. So sports is more than life. Sports is politics. Sports is financial wellness. Sports is mental health. You see all these areas, they all connect. And we're once again partnering with resources to bring you a little bit more than just the sports because you can find superior competition everywhere. Trust me, I've seen it. There's no organization that has more talent than the other. family because there's a lot of talent out there that doesn't know about anything. So, we're here to serve all families, all families, no matter what their backgrounds are. But we have a concentration on families, student athletes that come from a social economic disadvantaged background, along with those that have learning differences and challenges, opening up doors, connecting them to mentorships, connecting them to resources and trainings that they normally will not come in contact with. More importantly, at events like this, that families spend money on to come, is those relationships that can carry out, that you can carry out with you far beyond the experience, to have at least 40 to 60 years of memories being tied to all the resources, all the people that are involved with this wonderful organization. And that is not just, I'm not just speaking about my organization right now, but other organizations that are out there doing the work, because there are a lot of organizations that are out there doing the work and connecting the dots. We just happen to be one of them, and we're going to be number one, and we're going to out service. We're going to have more resources, and because this is a competitive market space. And with that being said, I'm always here to compete whatever I do. But that's enough about the organization. I want to go to Lynn right now, who's the CEO of the company. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, technically she is the CEO because that Lynn happens to be my right hand woman. Lynn is my wife. So she's the CEO, she's the COO of the foundation. Lynn has an extensive background in nonprofit management, even though I started a yeah, a national nonprofit here. So Lynn, go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'm gonna give you something that you're good at. Talk about yourself a little.
Okay. so, uh, my name is Lynn. I am Coach TJ's wife and excited to partner and be a part of this. I guess you could say this. It's more than an initiative, right? I think it's an opportunity to make a significant positive impact in the community and in our nation and globally. And so, I'm excited to be a part of this experience and opportunity. As Coach mentioned, I have a background in nonprofit management. I currently work in higher ed, and I am passionate about learning and helping students learn and grow and ideally become all they were created to be. So that's where my passion lies. And so there also I have an operational background, finance background within nonprofit management in my 9 to 5. And so looking to be involved, encourage, support, jump in wherever I can to support the mission and the initiative of Legends to Legacy, and just look forward to working with everyone, including the parents and the student athletes.
Great stuff. And Lynn, let me ask you. You've seen me put this together from the beginning. When I first pitched the idea, folks, I pitched the idea to my wife because if it don't make sense to her and it's not something that can be attainable, um, she's not going to back it. She's going to always give me an honest opinion, even sometimes I don't want to hear it. So Linda has been my sounding board. But what was it for you with this? Because you've seen me do a lot. I've thrown darts at many of drawing boards in the past. But what was it special about this when you seen me get started and do the research and everything? To say to yourself like, wow, this can happen.
So, I mean, I'll take it back several years ago, when you, Coach, started your first sort of football organization. It had at least what 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, and back then I saw you take what was an idea and go from idea to action to fruition. So I knew that it was there, right? I knew that you had the potential to do that because you were extremely successful in that. And then I saw you go and take your talents in support of organizations and believed and saw you grow there as well. And then I think this iteration or this approach, what I think stood out to me the most, I think, was your tenacity around building it, and then your commitment to an interest in helping those who are underserved, right? So going after and supporting students and communities and families that may not normally have gotten a chance or that need a little bit extra push. I mean, I think that's something that I admire and I see is in terms of the commitment and the goal to help others. And so it's just seeing the tenacity and also seeing you bring together an amazing team of people, all the people who are on the call, the numerous calls, the late night calls, the multiple calls with everyone here. And I've seen you all of you contribute and think and help and process. And so I think we want to be about doing good work and doing good for others. And so that's what makes me see and believe that this is an amazing opportunity. And it doesn't hurt. In fact, it's significantly important that the City of Monroe, the University of Louisiana Monroe, all of these institutions, the organizations are fully backing this, the upcoming Game of the Americas, which also speaks, I think, volumes to the impact of what the opportunity presents. And so, yeah, fully support.
Good stuff. And once again, folks, if it wasn't good stuff and it didn't make sense, um, you know, it wouldn't happen. You know, we wouldn't be here tonight. And I thank you for your honesty. I thank you for your belief. I thank you for being there with me when times are tough, because there's been a lot of moments where I want to stop, but you always have encouraged me to keep on. You know, you saw the potential in me and the vision, you know, long before I thought it was possible. So I thank you for that. You know, Brandon, I want to go to you. I met this gentleman back in 2016. I remember it like it was yesterday at the USA Football Clinic. And a shout out to the great work of USA Football and all that they do. Um, in this space. But Brandon is someone that I connected with, you know, immediately. I remember Brandon, you know, quick backstory. I met you over at the bar. So Brandon likes to have he likes to have fun. But at the same time, was a gentleman that was there, not gonna mention his name, and he was ignoring the heck out of us. And when everybody was drinking, the libations were flowing, and he just kept talking. So it was just sad at that moment. Me and Brandon, turned to look at each other, gave each other a look, and then we just smooth like strolled off and let the dude like talking to himself, and then we just start chopping it up and being in community with each other. And this has been my guy, ever since. Like I said, that was back in 2016, and Brandon's one of those other individuals that I've turned to, whether it was a podcast, he supported me when I was with this other venture that I was a part of for many years. And Brandon's always saw something special in me. But once again, folks, I always wasn't feeling that within myself. Others saw it. So that's something that, we all have to remember. Sometimes people see greatness within you when you may not see it in yourself. And a lot of times we hold ourselves back because when we look in the mirror, we don't see or we don't like what's looking back. And what's looking back at us could be a champion in disguise. So always remember that in your life's journey. Sometimes people see more than you see. And don't limit. When someone tells you about your greatness, don't think they're just blowing smoke up your behind. Believe them, because a lot of times they are. But Brandon, I just wanted to go into a little bit about your background. Why your whys, why you're here, and your vision for the organization.
Uh, excuse me. Well, first, happy to be here. Happy to be a part. Definitely happy I had a chance to meet you down when we were down in Orlando at that clinic. We've been thick as thieves ever since then, man. So, and I mean, you were spot on what you said too, because I did always kind of see something in you, and I knew you had something special. Even working with you with the other previous company that you work with, I was just like, you stood out way more than everybody else did. And I'm like, man, this dude got something special. He need to be doing something by himself, man, and go do his own thing, because I just always felt that you checked off all the boxes though, T. I mean, from being professional, being passionate, you really care about the kids. Like, that's your main objective, and it's always been that way. And that's why when you wanted to start this, it was like a no-brainer for me, just because we share the same passions and we share the same ideas and beliefs on helping underserved kids. I work with kids on IEPs. I work with special needs kids in the school system. I have for, I believe it's 10 years now.
Okay.
Super rewarding. Definitely love doing it for sure. And when you came to me about this idea that you had, it was like, yo, like this could really be something special. And I really wanted to be a part of it because, like I said, we share the same values and the same beliefs. And it is a need for it too. It's a niche market, with what we're doing. Obviously, there's other companies out there doing it, but I just feel like the way that we approaching it with everything, I think we could really knock it out of the box, especially with the workshops and the things like that. Not just doing the game. Other organizations, they just do the game and that's kind of it, and maybe like a banquet or something like that. But
Right.
we're actually going to get out in the community. And what I would like to do too, T, is I was just thinking about this today. I would like, because I like giving back too, I would like if we can make this happen, and maybe Lynn might be able to help us out with this too, is to be able to do some kind of volunteer work while we're there, visit a children's hospital, do something to be able to give back and help that community in Monroe too while we down there in Louisiana too. Just something else that we could do to show our appreciation for them having us, because they didn't have to have us and they obviously welcomed us with open arms. So I feel like, a way for us to be able to repay them for having us down there too is to do some kind of community work down there too while we down there. Pretty sure we could find the time to do it.
Absolutely. We make our own time.
Yeah,
We got standards, but we're here to change the game. And once again, folks, you're
absolutely.
listening to the Crossroads of Life and Sports Intersect. I'm your host, Coach TJ. That's my guy, Brandon Carter, speaking from Toledo, Ohio. Talk a little bit about elite athletics, things that you've been doing for the past few years. Brandon also is an entrepreneur. So I say entrepreneur. Is that politically correct?
You
Like I
say
said,
that.
we're gonna have some fun with this thing. We're gonna be our genuine, professional, jovial selves here tonight. So, Brandon, tell us a little bit about that as well.
So I started Elite Athletics in 2014, and it was kind of crazy how it started. My nephew, he was playing in the CFL then. He was playing in Toronto, and he came home. He had brought back his DB coach had put like all, they call them explosions in the NFL and CFL, like all of his big plays down the field. He put it on a DVD. So I was like, yeah, bring it back, and I'll take a look at it, and then we can kind of just take it to the lab, and then we can just get some work in too. So he brought it back. I looked at it for a couple hours, and I'm like, all right, these are the things you need to work on. We went up to the University of Toledo, worked on some things, posted a video, and then after that, other people were reaching out like, hey, will you work with my son? I got a son, he's in high school, he's in college. At first, I was just like, nah, I was like, I'm just doing that because it's my nephew. I really didn't have an interest in really doing that. And I started talking to him about it. I'm like, yo, like, what do you think about making a business out of it? He was like, just try it out for a summer, see if you like it. And if
Right.
you do, then you can kind of just build off it, like that. And my first client was a kid. He was at Ohio State at the time. He played safety. His dad hit me up. He's from Toledo, and he was my first client. And I worked with him, and it was kind of like I was off to the races ever since then. To be honest, I mean, I've trained Mr. Ohio in football here, couple All Americans, just obviously a couple guys in the NFL. So it's really taken off as far as from where we started it to me not even wanting to do it to where it's grown now. But not only that, like we've done camps all over. We've done a camp at Coronio Centennial High School in California, one of the top high schools in the country. We've done several camps in Toledo, not just football. We did baseball and basketball camps too here in Toledo, in Southern Ohio, where my nephew lives too. But the basis of my company too was a matter of not just the training part of it, but it was the mentoring part of it too. Because I
Right.
knew that guys were going to be coming up that I was training. I'm like, yo, like these cats, I could see them playing, on Sundays one day. So what I did was I took what I learned from my nephew going through the process when he was in the NFL and CFL, and just kind of, I guess you could say, made a blueprint. And once he came through, I just kind of took notes of how we approached that situation because it was new to me, and I just kind of used that. So when those guys were coming up that I was training, when they were coming up through college, transitioning to the next level, I kind of already had a guide, I guess you could say, to help them kind of transition in their families because they would have questions. Steve's an agent. They, how to pick an agent, what questions to ask, like different things. So I just kind of put everything together and made them feel comfortable and helped the transition be a lot smoother. So it wasn't just the training side of it or the athletic side of it, but it was like the mentoring side of it too. Because like I said, the parents don't know if they've never been through the process before, and I was fortunate enough to go through it with my nephew. So I just kind of put everything together and helped just kind of bridge that gap and make them feel a little bit more comfortable. And like I said, they knew what questions to ask and different things like that.
Outstanding. Right, Brandon, right now, you are my star tailback. And I want to talk about, your beginnings in football,
Hmm.
because a lot of times, the parents need to know the guys that that are behind something, have been there and done this, and that, you've done a lot, after football. And that's one thing, kids, we want you to realize you don't always have to be the gladiator on the field. It is nice to be drafted, but you can even have an even longer career working around the game. But let's go back to the early years, Brandon. Like, once again, you're my special tailback. No, I'm riding you right now, so I need about 33 carries out of you. Shout out to the big 33. But so talk about that, because you were in the running for Mr. Ohio. So coming out of high school, you had a lot of expectations for yourself, and for them not panning out, there's a lot of things that factor into getting to that top level,
Hmm.
getting to the NFL, go getting to the CFL. There's a lot of things that have to break right. But once again, it's about politics. Once again, politics and sports mixing together. So let's talk about the politics of Mr. Ohio, then going to University of Toledo, then going to Welsh University, and your journey. I just want the parents to get a quick synopsis of who you are.
Well, I won't even say politics of it. I honestly, I'm gonna blame myself, T, because I didn't
Blame
take
yourself. That's a new concept, folks. You're putting the blame on you. So you look at inner.
I'm
It's just
looking
inner
at it
Brandon.
because
Inner Brandon. All right.
right, and this is why I coach, and this is why I mentor too, is because T, when I was in high school, I didn't take the school side of it serious.
Right.
So it was just more athlete, football, this and that. I was putting in all the extra work and time on the athletic side, but I wasn't on the academic side, right? So I had to pass up scholarship offers from Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State because my grades, I was a non-qualifier coming out of high school. So I
Prop
didn't
48.
yeah, I was a Prop 48. So that's how I ended up at Toledo. I wasn't even gonna go to Toledo, but I ended up becoming a prop. And those schools was like, yo, if you don't qualify, the scholarship is off the table. I obviously didn't qualify. So that's why I didn't end up at those schools, which was still a blessing because I wouldn't be here right now doing the things that I'm doing and giving back if things happen the way that it did. Plus, can use me as a guinea pig. It's just like, hey, this is what you should do or not do, to get to the point where you want to get to. And I was okay with that. I was strong enough to be able to make those mistakes so the people coming behind me wouldn't make the same mistakes. And I'm okay with that. I don't have any regrets, anything like that. Like I said, everything happens for a reason. And I'm honestly glad that it happened. My nephew, we were just talking the other day, and he was like, would you go back and would you change anything? And I was like, if you asked me this like a couple years ago, then I would say absolutely, yeah, I would change some things. But now, me being where I'm at and all the things that I've been through, through. It's like, nah, because like I said, that going through all of that stuff made me who I am today. So that's why I wouldn't change any of that or any of those things, because like I said, the journey definitely molded me and shaped me into who I am today. And I love who I am today because I've been through all of those things because of that.
Well, we love you, Brandon. We love you here, definitely. You know, Brandon, you are like the most modest cat that I know. This guy, works at the Notre Dame camp. He goes and he's an on the field assessment trainer at the NFL Combine. You'll tell me like, hey, my boy with the Cincinnati Bengals wants to talk to you, or TF, give this guy a call. I'm like, who? What? So this dude is the most modest guy that I know. So the fact that we got Brandon here tonight, actually sharing some insight to who he is, um, is amazing. I'm always coaching Brandon like, Brandon, yo man, you gotta talk more about yourself. You gotta talk more about
You
yourself.
know I hate
Highlight,
doing that.
I know, man. Highlight yourself more, man. You got a story. You got a story, Brandon. You need to be on the speaking circuit, Brandon. You need to be coaching college ball. Brandon, you gotta get outside of Toledo. Brandon this, Brandon. Affirmations. I think we send affirmations back and forth, every day. And that's the
Sure.
thing that I really appreciate about your friendship. And I've seen Brandon, go from being a player to a dedicated father, which is a transition. I could not see you back in 2016,
Woo!
being selfless. So, folks, you're going to be in community with someone really, really special. Brandon, I just want to take a moment because I want to go back to Lynn real quick. And I really did her a disservice. Lynn, can you go ahead and share just a little bit about your background, the things that you do? I've been when you're talking to Brandon, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Folks don't know my CEO. People just think, no, she's my wife and she just looks good. What she does, I ain't scared to say. But Lynn, can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about your background and what you do on a daily basis for me? Well, for us.
Okay, so I thought I shared that, but so my 9 to 5, I'm director of career connections and experiences at a university, the University of Delaware, and which includes leading our employer and alumni engagement team. It includes operational and fiscal management of the Career Center, co-leading with my colleague Dr. Coppola. And I've been in higher ed for a number of years and have background in higher ed and nonprofit management. I'm also completing my doctoral studies at the University of Delaware. And then also on the side, I have a little YouTube channel where I encourage women who are dealing with hair loss. So that's probably the majority of it. And I do a little consulting on the side for higher ed nonprofits as well.
All right, good stuff. But once again, people, it's all about the people that are running the production. Even when you go to Broadway, you just know that, hey, I bought my ticket, I sit in my seat. These people better show up and show out. Here, we're taking a different approach to this. We really want you to get to know us and who we are as people and as a organization. With that being said, Lynn, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to Steve Hackney. Now, Steve has been knowing me for some time now. We're brothers, but we're different with our approach. Our personalities are like night and day. Steve has been in the industry now for almost 20 years. So I've seen Steve go through his growing pains in the as an agent and now a certified NIL advisor in this new world that we're in when it comes to sports, where there's a lot of different regulations and the terminology, things are constantly being updated and changing. So Steve is definitely moving the needle with Maven Sports Group. Like who's Maven Sports Group out there? Ran by Baby. My wife hates when I refer to him as Baby. Tony Braxton's husband and Maven. The things they've been doing in the record industry, moving the needle with Cash Money Records, but they started a small boutique agency that's doing some things. And one thing I can say from just knowing Steve, Steve really cares about the clients. He's all about serving the clients. Steve is very direct. He's going to tell a prospect the truth. And a lot of times, in this industry, people fall for the slick talkers. But Steve is going to be someone to give it to you real, because on the back end, you may hook someone, but you're not going to stay around once they recognize the real. So folks, I want to introduce you to my brother, who's the senior vice president of Legends to Legacy, Steve Hackney. Steve, can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about your background, your story, why you're here, and what does serving your student athletes mean to you?
Well, hey, after all that, I don't think I need to say any more. You done said it all for me. Appreciate that. What's going on, Coach? Sister-in-law. Hello there, Miss Brooks. So let me just give you the background. He said, yes, I'm a certified agent, and I'm agent at Maven Sports. We have transitioned now to like a full-fledged sports firm. We used to say that we are the biggest um, minority uh, agent representation in golf, and now we have to stop saying that because now we have all types of lives of individuals that we represent on the golf side. Um, why I'm helping out these student athletes? Because there was a time when I guess Brandon was going through this process playing high school ball, and that's no longer the case. Uh, this NIL has changed recruiting, as well as offers for high schoolers. I kind of feel bad for them, high schoolers, because now they may get an offer and it may be to a Division II school or Division III school. Not saying that's not bad.
Right.
However, those opportunities are being limited because of the amount of scholarships now on the Division I level have been reduced, and then NIL. And you got some programs that basically not even looking at high schoolers. So, uh, like my brother said, being in this NIL space is a lot different than being recruiting, because now programs call me and say, Steve, here's 3 names. I'll see how many you can get for me, and they'll give me a price. So this NIL is not me doing a random calling on people. I'm actually getting the names of who the teams want, like inside trading, like Martha Stewart, and then just doing a connection. And I just want to educate the parents as well as the young athletes and try to explain to them, like Brandon's situation, now it's times 10. If you're not, if, and I try to tell athletes that are in high school when I talk to them and meet them, you can't accept anything beneath a B. A C is failure. That's an F, because a college coach is not going to babysit you, and they rather go with somebody that's established before they take a high school. And I think that my knowledge in this NIL can help educate them, because they think they're gonna all get the Shador Sanders money, and that's not the case. Um,
Right.
a lot of his money wasn't from Buffalo; is from endorsements that the dad tag team and partner up with the kids, the players.
That's something very important, to mention. Steve, just going back a little further, tell folks your genesis into this world, and a little bit about yourself. Steve's also, what is your rank now in the Army?
It's almost retired.
Almost. All right, so almost retired. So you
Just,
are a senior master sergeant. What's that, like
uh,
an E7, E8?
I'm just a sergeant first class. I'm just the E7,
Oh,
a lone
just
guy.
just a lonely E7. Thank you for your service. So Steve is not only serving our country, he's also serving um, our families and student athletes to come. But Steve, how did you get your start in being an agent? I know your journey, but I don't even know how it happened. I remember you was over. my mom's house, and you would mention it to me that you were going to do it, and I said like, yeah, right. I didn't discourage you because that's never been my thing, but I just kind of happened, and then I remember the first person you were talking to was Tico Duckett from Michigan State. How did that even come about?
Me becoming an agent was purely accidental. It was a bet at a bar.
It always
And
starts at a bar or a golf
yeah,
course, folks.
it was one of those things where my partner and one of my best friends, he was going through law school. So he was saying his law professor wanted him to join his team, and he was like, "We can do this." He goes, "I'll go to law school first, and then we'll bring you on board." And I was just like, "Okay, whatever." And part of the deal was he had to get it done within a certain amount of time, and he actually did it. Kudos to him. Uh, and the rest is history. Then my journey was, I was that guy, didn't know what I was doing. Then I got educated on this agent business. Apologize for the barking. But I got
That dog got
educated.
something to say.
I got educated in this agent business by athletes. They basically was telling me, what I can do, what I shouldn't do, and how to get a high value athlete. When I say high value, I'm talking about somebody that's in the first or second round. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. Certain person told me first of the month rent is due, and he was like, "Go back and tell the people that you work with." And I was like, "What that mean?" He was like, "First of the month rent is due. If you don't put in, I can't answer your calls no more." So the so that was like my journey into this, and then as the years progressed, this is when the athletes wasn't allowed to monetize off of their NIL, their name, image, and likeness. And now that we're here now, these guys can take advantage of their opportunities. However, I try to tell them like, hey, you got to remember, as fast as it's here today, it can be gone tomorrow.
Right.
And the name of the game is that this portal thing it's not stopping. So, and that's the name of the game. But I think that these high schoolers or these younger individuals, they need to know, like, if you think you're going to play at Alabama, you got to have the grades because they're not even going to look at you no matter how fast you run. Not saying that you can't get there, but is a different and a longer journey that you may have to go.
And with that being said, Steve, um, once again, your five, your 2 to 5 percenters will make it to Alabama. If you were involved, with the, what is it now, the Army Navy, an All American Bowl, or are you involved in the Under Armour game? Those are the creme de la creme, type of athletes. They're gonna find a home coming out of high school. If you look at Julian Lewis, who's a 70-year-old that skipped ahead, that's now at Colorado. He was elite of the elite, so much so he was able to skip past his current class to this current year to be at Colorado early, playing as a 17-year-old freshman. That's not every story. So, and if you look at Julian's grades, to Steve's point, this kid was a student taking away, the electives, and that's one thing when I talk to athletes, Steve and Brandon, everyone that's here, you ask a parent, what's your child's grade point average, and they'll say, it's B. Okay, you strip away the electives, what is it now? Once again, if you're not averaging folks that are out there listening to the Crossroads with Life and Sports Intersect, we take a special look behind the scenes, at this industry. If you're not, averaging above a B average, you may, Division 1 may not be your home, and that doesn't mean you failed. That just means the journey to where you want to go is longer. And going to a Division 2 or 1 AA school they used to call it, you can still make the league if you show out. So all is not lost with going to the lesser tier schools. As a matter of fact, it may benefit you more not being in the spotlight, because there is a spotlight in Texas, Alabama, Colorado, and in some of these places that everyone likes to talk about. And Steve, man, I thank you so much for all that you do. Steve is someone that always provides, advice even when I don't want it. Um, he's always there, and he's someone that I ran things across in the beginning of starting this organization, which is going to be a great organization as we move into the next phase of this. So, Steve, once again, man, thank you for everything, man.
Not a problem. You know that.
All right, Steve just gave his famous head nod, like Birdman from Martin from the fifth floor. From the fifth floor. Moving right along, we have a couple more individuals, we want to highlight tonight, as we take a peek under the hood and see what this company's engine looks like. I'm going to go to Glenn Littman. Glenn, are you ready to go? All right, Glenn is not ready to go, so we're gonna keep it moving. We're going to go to our financial coach here. Once again, we happen to encounter a lot of people at these events. And, Crystal was someone that I met back in 2018. It was 2018. It was with the other company in Virginia Beach, where it was about 9 degrees. And folks, I'm not lying. It was about 9 degrees. Wind was whipping, throughout that week. And I had an opportunity to be in community with Crystal, and she was talking about her journey into helping and serving people back then. But once again, I come across a lot of people that say a lot of things, never discouraged, but just watching Crystal's movement within the financial industry has been really great to watch. And now she's leading, conferences. She's becoming an expert. She's certified, across the country and growing in the financial planning, wealth management spaces. Crystal has given me advice, and I wish I was knowing some of these principles when I was, younger. I just turned 54, and I know more now and more open to listening to stuff now um, than I was back in the day. That just shows you folks that you're always maturing. When it comes to financial literacy, and the more you know, the more you understand, and you'll even know within sports, it all connects, even to what Steve does, what Brandon does, what Lynn does, and Glenn, who you're going to hear from later. Everything is about financial readiness, and really want to hone in on this. So when we do have our audience at our events and our virtual seminars, we can have experts on to speak of truth to power in the financial industry. So that's enough. So Crystal, go ahead and take it away. Do what you do.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on this evening. Good evening, everybody. As Thomas said, I am Crystal Brooks. I'm the owner of Crystal Brooks Investments. I'm a certified financial education instructor and a licensed independent life insurance advisor. And my purpose of being a part of this group is to bring awareness to changing our money mindset. As you all have said previously, we have the NIL deal, so a lot of kids are getting access to money sooner than later. And a lot of them are growing up in environments where there's no conversation about finances, from the parents to the school to the friends to the coaches. So when parents and kids get money, the first thing they want to do is spend it. Well, I want to teach people not to be spenders, but to become investors, whether it be with life insurance and once I'm security licensed with investments, because we don't want our kids to end up on another ESPN document called broke. We
Right.
want them to end up on an ESPN document on how they did so well with their finances because they learned about it. They looked at Michael Jordan, they looked at Magic Johnson, saw what they did. They took an opportunity of being an athlete and had all these other doors open for them to become entrepreneurs, and they've grown into billionaires owning teams. And the only way we can do that is by starting to have the conversation about finances, personal finances, business finances. If your personal finance foundation is shaky, your business finances are going to see it too. If you don't know how to grow money, you're going to go through money fast. So I like to think of myself as somebody who looks for gaps. When I talk about wealth planning, yes, people may have money, but what people don't know is that financial advisor, investment brokers, they don't have all the pieces to the financial puzzle. So you can have a financial wealth plan going on, and you may not realize you don't have no protection if a long-term medical illness happens. You may not know that life insurance and investments are partners and not competitors. You may not have a tax strategy. You may not have a good retirement plan where you just don't have investments, but you have other non-taxable income as part of your retirement portfolio. That's where I come in. So I look forward to bringing more information and education on finances. And I can't wait to get in front of these kids to teach them something that nobody's taking the time to teach them. And not just the kids, but the parents. Because if the parents' mindset change, then the kids' mindset's going to change.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Crystal, I just wanted to go back into your backstory. I met you when you once again, I was with that other company in Virginia Beach, and your son was a standout. I think he was a D-back slash receiver when he was there. Talk about your journey as a parent, and how did you move into this space? Because at the time, I think you were doing something else as well. But how did you get here for the people?
Well, my journey with my son, it's been a long journey. And one of the things that I learned that I wish I knew then that I know now is how to leverage life insurance because I spent a lot of money out of my own pocket, money I
Okay.
didn't have to spend. Had I known then what I know now, I could have saved myself a whole bunch of money. I could have put myself in a better financial position. But we don't know what we know. And that's where I come in and speak to parents and kids and teach them, hey, there's a way for you to support your kids, help them live their dreams. And I got the answer for it. But to speak on my journey, I've been in the financial industry for 20 years. I spent 17 years on the mortgage side. So when we
Okay.
initially met, Thomas, I was still in the mortgage sector.
Okay.
And then when my son became a junior in high school, he was a football and basketball athlete, and we were just traveling everywhere, practice, training, games. I said, you know what? What's going to happen when this boy graduates? Because my life became surrounded by whatever he was doing. So I had to think of something to do to find me a new normal, to find myself. And one of the things that I decided I wanted to do was learn more about money. I didn't know. And so that started my journey into life insurance. And when I first got the word about life insurance, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But then when I got
Uh,
those books and started learning about it and seeing the value in it and how we're just told about term and whole life. Man, there's so many products that are out there that if I tell you, it will blow your mind away. So since I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to my community and start teaching it. So now I teach classes. I got certified to become a financial education instructor. And I'm just filling in those gaps and I'm not waiting on nobody to give me permission to do it. I'm just going out and doing it. And it's also helping me in the sense of my son is now in college playing sports. So eventually one day he may get to the big money. And instead of him going in with no knowledge, I'm teaching him the knowledge that I didn't have,
right.
that a lot of kids don't have. I can change that his story to make sure that he is not just a spender, but he understands how to grow his money for the what ifs in life. Because this sports life, it's not guaranteed to last forever. But why not get them prepared for it now versus later?
Yeah. Once you're speaking truth to power, and I just want people to realize the level of expertise that we have here at Legends to Legacy. People that really are here to pour into you and give, once again, that atmosphere, the environment for that superior competition that's going to take place. Our concentrated age groups, seven through eight, second through eighth grade, ages 7 to 14 years of age. So if you think about that, there's a lot of parents, a lot of aunties, a lot of guardians, and well wishers, of these kids that we're going to be in front of as we, put out the creative content as we when we do our live events and as the organization expands in 26. So as we're coming into folks' homes, you know, they're going to know that, we get it, we care, and we want to see, the growth of the whole family unit and understanding how your money works. And Crystal, I'm thinking about, me and my wife's journey, having two athletes. My daughter was a star lacrosse player. My son played football, ran track in high school, and the amount of money we spent. I'm just thinking about my son, going up to East Stroudsburg or UMass University or different things we would take my daughter to, the Nike clinic for lacrosse and different showcases. I remember one time me and my daughter Tamar, who's now a lobbyist in DC, us going from something in Philadelphia on a Saturday and being and Saturday night being in DC to get ready for another tournament at Georgetown University, be showcased, and not knowing that, hey, there was something that we could have leveraged if I would have took the time to learn about it, 10 years prior. So that right there, Crystal, you just dropped some knowledge. And folks, we're gonna be doing, more creative content going through, just featuring Crystal, because man, like I said, there's so much stuff that that she could tell us that we don't have time for this evening. But also, Crystal, we're working to also partner with other financial entities because in this, everything is for everybody. So we want you to hear voices of the experts so you folks can make the choice in the marketplace, how you want to go. But we got somebody in house, that's our guru, that's our go-to person. And it's not too many organizations that have that. So Crystal, once again, thank you for all you do. And your son is, on his comeback, from a couple injuries at Butler University. So, you raised a fine young man. And Crystal also shares the expertise. Once again, she just stated trying to find herself within being a parent of an athlete that's on the travel circuit for football and basketball, which is very commendable because a lot of times I talk to people and I'm trying to get them to be involved. Period. Hey, show up for your child's games. Don't let your child look up in the stand and see no one there. So those are things that we're going to talk about as well. Is how do you balance life as well as being a parent? Because you have to be able to do something for self as long as and along with who you are as a parent and not get caught up into just being an athlete's parent, which we see a lot. A lot of times we'll see parents step over the lines because they're too tied up into their athlete's career, boy or girl. It doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen them on the lacrosse side, I've seen it in field hockey, I've seen it in football, I've seen it in basketball, and we see these parents all the time at these events, doing the most because once again they're living their life through their athlete because they haven't taken the time to find out who they are because who they became was because of their student athlete. So,
Right.
Crystal, is there any more thing that you want to add before we close out this segment of the Crossroads or Life and Sports Intersect?
I would just say another reason why I like being a part of this whole group is because I am a student, a mom of a student athlete who's gone through injuries, who recruitment got messed up. So that's great information that parents need to know about what to do when your child get injured, how to not only just help them, go through the process of healing, but ensure you're healing them the right way and finding the right doctors who can do the work on them to ensure that they can come back. That's very, very important because everybody don't have the gift of operating on whatever needs to be fixed on your child and actually fixing the problem and understanding what type of athlete they are. And we go into it, especially with these injuries. My son has tore both his ACLs. First time he tore it, I knew nothing about ACL. Never had gone through it. So, as we were going through looking for doctors, I started doing research and asking questions. And we went to one doctor, and one of the questions I asked is, can you make him still have him come back and be a two-sport athlete? He couldn't answer that question. I knew right then and there he wasn't the doctor for us. So, just giving feedback on not only the financial side, but the side of being a parent of an athlete too. And, sharing my experience of what we went through.
Awesome. And I once again I look forward to bringing forth the the creative content side as we move this thing forward. With Legends of Legacy. But once again, football is my passion, but educating is my purpose, and it's everyone's purpose here. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. And last but not least, I hope he's ready. Glenn, are you ready to come on camera? Okay, so folks, I guess Glenn's gonna be that guy that you're watching the show. He's often talked about, but you never see. Glenn is on the call right now. But he did take the time to try to get on. But that's the way it works sometimes, and we gotta keep it moving. I just want everyone to real quick to go around and just recap tonight. What's one thing that you will want people to leave this broadcast knowing about the organization? We'll start with you, Brandon.
One thing I would say is we're a resource. Use us. I mean, we got different people from different walks of life that specialize in different areas. So it's just a matter of using the resource that's in front of you.
Well said, Len.
I think I would say with this organization has a group of individuals who are deeply committed to the success of your student athlete as a parent. And then as a student, the same thing, deeply committed to your success and wanting to walk with you through your, not just your athletic journey, but also your journey as a student as well.
Steve.
Well, everybody should have an NIL agent if they play collegiately. If they don't, it's like going to a court without a lawyer. That's it.
um, myself, I've been taking so many good notes here. You know, I would just say that the trajectory of this organization is right now is moving through the roof, and this is one of the reasons. If you look on our webpage, you will see that we're aligning ourselves with education partners, financial, sports entities are things that are coming on board to be a resource to our families and student athletes. That's only going to continue as there are some surprises. I've been dripping out information, and you're going to start seeing a ramp up in the marketplace of us advertising as we start to move into phase two. Phase one was finding the correct host city, the right place to host the event, in the right environment, a place that's going to roll out the red carpet. We were just fortunate and blessed to have the University of Louisiana Monroe come on board, and the city, the mayor's office. We did an announcement press conference, and the mayor is totally committed to seeing this thing grow. So that just tells you right there the level of commitment to Legends Legacy, and what we are about is more than just lip service and advertisement. Of course, we're going to have the fancy hashtags, the cool flyers. There is a lot of flash. I believe in flash. Anyone knows me, they know that I like to be flashy. I want to be seen, but I want to be seen for the right reasons. Then I want to be seen because we are a a good service to people. And we're trying to change the trajectory of what grassroots football is thought about. You know, grassroots football has taken a lot of hits over the years, and it doesn't deserve that, because there's much more to this sport than what you may see on social media. So, folks, we're going to definitely bring it to you. We're always going to be honest. We're going to always tell you the truth, and we're going to always be a resource. And like I said in the beginning, we're going to out customer service everyone. We're going to out service everyone. And as far as competition goes, that's for you to decide. You know, I would never get into those type of discussions. You know, who has the best athletes, because there are so many great athletes. And one thing I can honestly tell you, for being in this industry for a while, the best athlete in a particular grade class may not even be playing the sport. So with that being said, folks, we're going to go ahead and close this thing out. Once again, it was a pleasure to be in community with you all. And thank you for tuning into this special edition of the Crossroads, where life and sports intersect. And I love you guys. That's an action word, and we're out. Peace.